In every sport, even the greatest champions have that one loss that haunts them. It's the one defeat they struggle to come to terms with. Stay with us as we enter the world of tennis and explore the epic losses the megalodons of this sport will always remember, and at the same time, always try to forget. First up, how we selected the epic losses in this video. We choose a handful of tennis greats, looked at their careers, and tried to isolate the one single loss that would probably be impossible to erase from their memory. We considered the magnitude of that specific defeat and also the circumstances that ultimately played a role in that loss. Venus Williams' defeat in the 1999 French Open is first on the list. Her spot in the annals of tennis history is 100% secured. She's a 7-time Grand Slam winner and one of the best players of the Open era. The past few years have been an uphill battle for Williams, though. She hasn't made it in the past second round since 2018. Hounded by illness and injuries recently, Venus Williams is still one of the tennis all-time greats. There's one loss that would be difficult for her to forget. Her 1999 fourth-round loss against Barbara Schwartz in the French Open. Williams was then the number 5 seed, and in this match she lost to the number 125 player, and she blew a triple match point against a completely overmatched opponent. That would be seriously difficult to get past. She'd won her previous 2 tournaments on clay, so this one would be particularly perplexing. Before this loss, she beat Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, Mary Pierce, and the number 1 Martina Hingis. Keep watching for Enganaxa Radwanska loss in Miami. Next is David Ferrer's defeat in the 2006 Davis Cup. David Ferrer nearly always lost games he was expected to lose. But in the same breath, he almost always won the matches in which he was favored to win. Talk about consistency. The defeat of this will be etched in his mind came in the 2006 Davis Cup match against Belarus. In Davis Cup singles, Ferrer is 23-4. This was his very first Davis Cup singles game for Spain, and it happened to be in February 2006 when he faced off against Vladimir Volchkov in the first round. At that point, Ferrer was ranked number 10 in the world. He'd reached the round of 16 at the Aussie Open of the previous month. Volchkov was number 301 in the world. He'd not beaten a player in the top 150 for over a year. He'd also notched up 5 losses to players outside the top 200 in that period, but Volchkov had a raucous crowd behind him for this game, and on the surface, he stepped into the court as the favorite. It also pays to remember that Spain did not have Rafael Nadal in their arsenal in 2006. He was out injured. In the end, Ferrer was defeated by Volchkov in 3 sets, 6-3, 6-4, and 6-3. Spain had won the Davis Cup in 2004, but this Ferrer defeat had them lose in the first round of the tournaments for a second year straight. Then Agnieszka Radwanska's loss in Miami in 2008. Agnieszka Radwanska's retirement from a New Haven match in 2012 would have lingered in her memory, but this loss in Miami was worse. In New Haven, she was ranked number 2 in the world. When she faced Olga Govortsova in her opener, she dominated her, but retired with a shoulder injury when she was leading 6-0, 2-1. But in 2008 in Miami, there was no injury. She was number 16 in the world and lost to the 15-year-old wildcard entrant, Michelle Larcher. The teenager was ranked 255 in the world and had not beaten a ranked player in the top 120 in any of her 8 tournaments in the preceding year. But she triumphed Radwanska 2-6, 6-3, 7-5. Also on the list is Andy Murray's defeat in Miami in 2011. We can never forget that Wimbledon is the home turf of Andy Murray, so any loss here would be difficult for him to stomach. When he lost to Djokovic in the 2012 Australia Open, that would not have been easy for him either, but in all probability, it was a 2011 defeat in a lesser tournament that would stick with Andy Murray. He'd been a finalist in Australian in 2011 and ended up losing the opening match in his next 3 tournaments. That may have not been the biggest deal in the world of Andy Murray, but going down to a player ranked 143 at Indian Wells when he was number 5 in the world was not a good look. Murray's problems took on a further downward slide when his next match, a fortnight later, became a disaster. In Miami, Alex Bogolomov Jr. chalked up a quick 4-0 lead against Murray, and this ended with a 6-1, 7-5 victory. Murray was playing well in practice sessions, but couldn't translate his shots into victories when it mattered. And the Bogomolov match will be etched into his memory bank. A second straight loss to a player outside of the top 100 can't ever be easy to forget. Coming up shortly, Maria Sharapova's upset at Wimbledon. Keep watching. Next, Serena Williams lost at the 2015 US Open. Back in 2015, Serena was ranked number 22 in the world, and she'd won 3 Grand Slams leading to the New York tournament at Flushing Meadows. Adding the US Open would have equaled 2 remarkable Steffi Graf records. With all of this on the cards, Roberta Vinci, a doubles specialist and only ranked 43 in the world, snuck in to defeat Williams in a 2-6, 6-4, 6-4 victory. The match lasted exactly 2 hours. And to think that the bookies gave Vinci a 301 chance of beating Williams. It is the one match Serena is probably aching to forget. Also, Maria Sharapova's upset at the 2008 Wimbledon tournament. Sharapova probably has 2 Wimbledon losses that swirl like ghosts in her mind. She won't be forgetting her 6-3, 6-4 defeat in the second round against Michelle Larcher anytime soon. That was in 2013. She was ranked number 2 at the time, and Larcher was only at 131. But it was probably Sharapova's 6-2, 6-4 defeat to Alla Kudermetova in round 2 of the 2008 Wimbledon that will haunt her for decades to come. At number 154, Alla's only win in 6 previous tournaments had been number 206 player, and she'd even lost against a player ranked at 305 less than a month before. In this match, Sharapova made a total of 22 unforced errors and double faulted 8 times, and that is only 18 games. Her 3 double faults in 1 game helped Alla win the first set. Then a double fault at deuce gave Alla a match point. She needed only that one to claim the match. Sharapova was the favorite to win Wimbledon that year, so that made the defeat even more significant. Shortly, we'll tell you about Novak Djokovic's downfall in the 2010 French Open. Stay with us. Then Federer's loss to Nadal at Wimbledon in 2008. This was the 3rd consecutive Wimbledon final meeting between Federer and Nadal. Federer was defending the title and came off a 40-match winning streak, plus he'd had a 5-year reign at Wimbledon. Nadal had been dominating the Grand Slams that year, and it spilled over to Wimbledon. Federer was 2 sets down but recovered. He saved 2 match points in the tiebreak in the 4th and thus forced the 5th set. The level of both players reached incredible standards in that 5th set, making it one of the most memorable in Wimbledon history. It was becoming dark. Federer missed a deep serve in the 5th with a score at 7-7, and Nadal served out what became his first Wimbledon victory. A great match, but a defeat Federer is unlikely to forget. For the odd statistics around Victoria Azarenka's defeat in the 2009-2010 Australian Open, watch this video to the end. Also, Novak Djokovic's downfall in the 2010 French Open. By 2010, Djokovic had made it to the semifinals in 13 straight Grand Slam tournaments, but his loss to the French Open is the one defeat he is unlikely to ever forget. He was seeded number 3 and he cruised through the quarterfinals against Melzer, who was ranked at number 27. The first set went to Djokovic 6-3, and then he repeated the performance, taking the second set 6-2. Then the apocalypse arrived for him. He ended up losing the match 3-6, 2-6, 6-2, 7-6, and 6-4. Granted, Djokovic got a bad call on what could have been a critical point, but it didn't go his way at all. That, without a doubt, is the one defeat Djokovic would likely erase from his memory. Finally, Victoria Azarenka's defeat in the 2009-2010 Australian Open. So this is one for the record books. She lost 2 matches against the same opponent at the same event in consecutive years. In the round of 16 at the 2009 Aussie Open, Azarenka, ranked 13, won the first set against Serena Williams. She called for a medical timeout in the second set because she started feeling dizzy. She ended up retiring while trailing 4-2 in the second set. This bad memory only got worse when she was up against Williams at the 2010 Australian Open quarterfinals. She was also on her way up to an upset against the number 1 ranked Williams with a lead of 6-4, 4-0. Williams then forced a second set tiebreaker. Azarenka threw the 3-1 lead that she had, and Williams won the match 4-6, 7-6, and 6-2. Another statistic Azarenka would rather forget is when she faced off at Grand Slams with Serena Williams 7 times, and Williams won all 7. There are wins to remember and defeats to forget, but some victories, like some losses, become permanently etched into the memories. We hope you've enjoyed this compilation of some of the most memorable defeats in tennis history. That ends our video, friends. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.